Welcome to a special edition of the End Zone. We are at the Pregame Center where tonight it's Game 1 of the Western Conference semifinals. The Oklahoma City Thunder hosting the Denver Nuggets. It's round 2. It feels like a matchup of NBA elites as Denver is nearly 2 years removed from their 2023 NBA championship. And for Oklahoma City, it's 2 years running as the #1 seed in the Western Conference. Although this year they're trying to break through to the Western Conference Finals. Along with Adam King, I am Colby Daniels. Adam, excited for this matchup, and can I say the Thunder T-shirts are really hitting here at the Pregame Center tonight?
Yeah, they're lined up and ready to go, and it seems like everybody from the security guards outside the building to the folks inside getting ready to go. We watched Coach Dagnall walk by as we were kind of getting everything ready to go. He looks locked in. There's just a different kind of energy for this series than there was for the last one. When you look at the matchup, it's pretty easy to see why.
It's going to be a lot of fun. 8:30 tip-off tonight, so they open the doors about an hour and a half from now. I was told that they are shortly going through sound checks, so at some point we might actually have like a soundtrack behind us, but it should be a ton of fun. And speaking of fun, our own Grant Palmer is at Thunder in the Park, just a couple hundred yards from where we are right now.
Hey Colby, yeah, we were at Thunder in the Park. It's funny, the PA man just started really screaming as soon as you were tossing to me, but hey, that lets me know that the energy is starting to build up. You know, I'm excited. I got my Thunder shirt on, and hey, I can tell you these fans are excited as well to get this series kicked off. I'm gonna show you what they got going on here. Over here we got a youth zone where you know, kids and adults alike have been showing off their ball skills, and you know what, you might see me out there a little bit later too, you know, show you that I haven't lost a step. All right, over here people are making their way into the OKC Tap House. You know, they're getting their pregame in, getting the juices flowing before the big game. Of course, we got over here the large shipping containers with all the players and whatnot on there, you know, creating the presence, creating the good atmosphere, playoff atmosphere. And if you look over here, they got some cutouts for the kids, but hey, don't count me out either on that. I might put my face on there as well. Also over here, what we got is a video game truck, and you know, we might be able to squeeze a game in, you know, play some Thunder, Nuggets, little prediction matchup to see, you know, what we could be in store for tonight's game. And then we got some inflatables that we can dunk on as well. Hopefully the OKC Thunder will be dunking on the Nuggets tonight. And of course they got the usual stuff, all of the food trucks and live music and everything else that you would expect from a live event. So the energy is really starting to build. People are starting to file in and get excited here at Scissortail Park. And we are ready to go for Game 1. Colby and Adam, I'll send it back to you.
Sounds like a ton of fun out there, Grant. I know that people are just excited to finally have basketball back, right? It feels like it's been an eternity since the Thunder played in the postseason. They will have I guess, had 9 days since their last matchup. The Clippers losing in Game 7 to this Nuggets team. And now we have a fun matchup with Denver and Oklahoma City. They tied the series 2 games apiece in the regular season, Adam. They played in the season opener back in October and again in November. That was so long ago. I don't know what you take from those 2 games, but the 2 games here, back-to-backs, March 9th and March 10th, were big-time matchups.
Yeah, I think those are the ones you look at because over the course of this season, whether it's the Thunder or the Nuggets, those teams have changed so much. But it's such an interesting place for the Thunder to be because you kind of look at the makeup of this team and the changes that they made, and they built this team for this matchup. It was their understanding that the road through the West went through Denver. They just kind of flipped it. Denver's got to go through Oklahoma City. So when you look at the bodies they have to throw at Jokic and some of the other stuff that's going on, X's and O's wise, this looks like the matchup they were waiting for all year long. So be excited to see how some of those games within the game play out.
And obviously, as far as the first round, the Thunder swept the Memphis Grizzlies. It's been 4 games in 22 days since the regular season ended. So are the Thunder going to come out rusty? I know that happened with Cleveland last night. They finished off their first round series, #1 seed in the East, and they had to wait. Showed up a little rusty. The Thunder have harped on bringing the energy, but I think in terms of the first round, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander seemed like he was out to a slow start to start this postseason. But the good thing is J-Dub and Chet, the 2 guys that I think were pretty criticized after last year's playoff failure, showed up in a big way.
It's definitely nice to see those guys coming out and take control, but I think when you talk about the Cleveland slow start versus what you might see from Oklahoma City, SGA's the difference. So I want you to think about it almost like a diesel truck. He's taking his time to get things going, and then once he gets up to speed, nobody can stay in front of this guy. The quickness where he can just decide to turn it on, it's going to be a matchup nightmare, especially when he starts making those attacks to the basket and the shooting that's been there all season long as a stalwart. But those guys are out there on the perimeter ready to go. It is going to be a tough task for the Nuggets out there.
Well, in terms of the big narratives around this series, it starts with Russell Westbrook, right? One of Oklahoma City's favorite sons, won an MVP for the Oklahoma City Thunder. He's now on his 6th team in 7 years. He played the Thunder in the 2020 playoffs. That was with the Houston Rockets. That was in the bubble, though, not back here in Oklahoma City. So this will be his first playoff trip to Oklahoma City as the visitor. And Mark Daigneault acknowledged what Russell Westbrook brings to the table.
You know, he always brings great energy and competitiveness to the game. So, especially when he's off the bench, you have to account for the fact that he's going to come in the game, you know, ready to rock, you know, and the pace of the game is going to go up, and he's going to be trying to make something happen right off the bat, and you can't be caught flat-footed in that way. I thought the second time we played him in Denver, he changed that game, you know, against us. He went in the game and he really elevated their energy, and really we had a lead early in that one, and I thought he was one of the reasons why they came back in that game. This is a place that I think he really resonates with, and a place that resonates with him, and that's always been the case when he's here. But you know, when the ball goes up in the air, he'll be ready to compete for Denver. We'll be ready to compete for Oklahoma City.
Yeah, look, the Thunder fans love Russell Westbrook, right? Arguably the favorite player from Thunder years past. But nobody's cheering for him tonight once tip-off takes place. Everybody's excited that he's back in town, but they will absolutely be cheering against him in this series. This is a team that has a real chance to win an NBA championship. I don't think the love of Russell Westbrook is going to supersede that. In terms of how he impacts this series, Mark Daigneault said it. He's a spark plug, and you have to be aware of what he brings to the table. But as we saw when he was in Oklahoma City, Adam, sometimes that's to your benefit, and sometimes that's to your detriment.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where you look up at the banners in the rafters here, and his fingerprints are all over him. He's such an iconic piece of the history that makes up the Thunder, especially if you want to talk about those heyday years. But we can also remember those times where he started feeling some things and really wanted to take over on nights where maybe it would have been a good chance to defer. It's a little tougher to see that happening here with the Denver team, especially the way that team's built. But you could see a guy that has always played with a chip on his shoulder and a lot of emotion. Let's just call it like it is, right? That's a guy who could get caught up in the moment. He gets here, you know they're going to cheer when he walks onto the court. Maybe he gets swept up in that a little bit, and maybe you see Russ trying to do Russ things, and it turns into one of those situations where he's not paying attention, and Lou Dort kind of picks it from him, and they kind of go off to the races. So it'll be interesting to see how Russ reacts once he gets that ovation that he gets, and then the change 10 minutes from then when he kind of has to come down from that high and settle into a basketball game.
Does he try to do too much, right? Does he try to take over? This is Nikola Jokic's team, but when you add Russell Westbrook being in Oklahoma City, I don't think that Russ has any illusion that the Denver Nuggets are his team, but being in his city might bring a different Russell Westbrook than what we saw in March, right? Because this isn't the first time he's played in Oklahoma City as a member of the Denver Nuggets. But under these circumstances, with this level of playoff energy, I think he's going to want to make a statement.
Yeah, you always want to bring something, right, to the folks that you care about and the folks that essentially in an NBA career raised you. You know, it's going home to see mom and dad and showing them everything that you built and everything you put together, and this is the person I've become. So super interesting to see. Man, you can see it kind of in your head. You've seen it in other uniforms where he just gets a little too carried away. And if that happens, it's a good recipe for the Thunder, maybe not for the folks who want to see Russ do that.
The other massive headline for this series is the MVP race, right? I mean, we expect that the MVP is going to be announced at some point during this series, which is going to bring an even bigger spotlight to both SGA and Nikola Jokic. These guys were in what felt like a duel, right, on a nightly basis, trying to impress MVP voters down the stretch. But I think SGA, from an odds standpoint, is the overwhelming favorite to win the award. These guys aren't going to match up necessarily on each other, but which guy has the more successful series is certainly going to leave a big narrative for NBA fans.
It'll be so much fun if some of the switches get away from the teams and they do end up like head-to-head even for a minute or two. Just from the size difference perspective, it'll be really fun. But it's interesting because you're talking about two teams who look and play vastly different when those two guys are not on the floor. We've seen all the numbers with the Nuggets without Jokic. It's not even arguably an NBA basketball team sometimes. They get so stuck in the mud. And with SGA out there, the other pieces around him have been so good that there have been moments throughout the season, I know the Oklahoma City fans are familiar with this, where they've almost been counted out for some of those awards races. I mean, we can ask Lou Dort about that all day with Defensive Player of the Year. So the other pieces around SGA have been so good, but that doesn't take away from him making the drives and finding those guys, and really the way that he elevates and gets the most out of his teammates. That's the case for him for the MVP. His stats on his own, yes, but what he's brought out of those guys around him has been absolutely incredible.
Well, he is the scoring leader, so he has Jokic in that department. Obviously, Jokic from a rebound and assist standpoint averaged a triple-double this season. They need that out of Jokic on a nightly basis. What that doesn't show you, though, is Shea's ability to score in volume, but efficiently, right? Because he's scoring those numbers, but he's allowing enough room for everybody else to get theirs as well. There are guys that score a lot of points, and it takes them a lot of shots to get there. SGA does it efficiently. He also does it on the defensive end of the floor, which you can't necessarily quantify in a box score. He might be the weakest defender at times on this Thunder team in terms of what five is on the floor.
Crazy.
But his defensive impact, I think, supersedes what you see from Jokic on that side.
Yeah, you look around at who else is on the floor, and this is crazy. When you talk about SGA, we're starting to get some recognition and really some bump throughout the city. There's an awesome mural that's out there. I don't know if folks have seen this or not, but it's over by the Paramount building. There's a Steven Adams mural over there as well, and it's made from a group out of Brooklyn, Overall Murals. They've done the Kobe Bryant mural in LA. They did James Harden one in Brooklyn, so kind of interesting that they have an SGA with Harden when you talk about the old Oklahoma City ties. So something really cool for fans to check out. We're going to be here at the Paycom Center. We've got more news coming for you in just a few minutes, and then we'll be right back here to give you the latest heading up to the start of the Western Conference semis.
Along with Adam King, I'm Colby Daniels. It's a special edition of the End Zone as we get ready for Game 1 of the Western Conference semifinals. The Oklahoma City Thunder and the Denver Nuggets. Should be a great game. We're a little over 3 hours away from tip-off as players and coaches start trickling onto the floor to begin their shoot-around process. And our own Grant Palmer is just a couple hundred yards away from us at Thunder in the Park.
Adam and Colby, it is so loud down here and the energy is so great that I can't even hear y'all, so I had to have my cameraman cue me over here. But between the last time you saw me, I have broken a little bit of a sweat, not only because it got a little bit hot out here, but also because I have been perfecting my craft in these dunks I'm going to show you on 5:30. And I'll tell you who else has broken a sweat is these fans out here. We have been seeing some dance-offs break out since we last spoke, and I think that's also because the OKC cheerleaders have made an appearance. They've been doing dances, doing their thing up on the stage, and really just cultivating a good spirit and a good energy for the fans out here. Also, something I wanted to mention, I didn't mention this before, they got a whole phone pit down there that kids can jump into. I've seen a lot of kids jumping into it. They've been having a blast. There's a ton of great things out here for kids. It's almost kind of awakening my inner child. I thought the video game station indoors, which is really cool, temperature-wise and also just cool from a gaming experience, was really neat. Kids were playing 2K in there all day, beating up on the Nuggets, and hopefully that will be the outcome tonight. But spirits are high, and we are ready for Game 1. I'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Grant. And it's about 3 hours away from tip-off. As far as tonight goes, a couple things that the Thunder mentioned this week in preparation for the Denver Nuggets. Alex Caruso talked about Nikola Jokic being a great player. He's going to get his, just don't let him go nuclear, right, and
absolutely.
completely destroy you. If he gets his averages, then it's a job well done. And Kasem Wallace today mentioned several times, make sure to bring the energy. After 9 days off since their last game, start the game with energy. Don't fall into a hole.
Yeah, it's one of those things with the Thunder, start hot, stay hot, is one of those things you love to see. And I really want to see some of those next level matchups, especially when it comes to Jamal Murray for the Nuggets and how they throw Caruso and Dort, how they rotate through that. Because like you said, Jokic is going to get his, but if you can keep Murray a little bit on the slower pace here, maybe they have to go to Russ a little bit early, make some changes. If you get them kind of tinkering with their formula, get them out of their rhythm, force them to play your game, and then all of a sudden you get it in here and the building starts going nuts, that's a good recipe for the Thunder. That's going to do it for us here, folks. We appreciate you being here with us as we get you through this special edition of the End Zone, get you ready for everything Thunder basketball as we go through this Western Conference semifinals. We'll have more from Grant at Thunder Up in the Park here at 5:30 as we make our way through towards that 6 o'clock hour. Remember, tip-off here tonight at 8:30. We want to see the fans out here loud and proud. We'll see you then.